Alright, hey guys, what's up? Back here with another video. This video is going to be on anatomy. So anatomy, I feel like there's a lot of videos online about it. And at the end of the day, the only way you improve is practice. But of course, first, like, watch the whole video and then, like, you could flame me in the comments about, that's very lazy advice, practice. Yeah, everybody says that. But honestly, it is because it's just recognizing certain patterns with shapes. That's just it. And there are some tips and tricks. So in this video, I'm just gonna show my kind of system. So I didn't really go to school for art, and in terms of anatomy, I didn't really learn it. Learn a certain process to do it. But my kind of process when I draw anatomy is to just keep doing it until it looks normal. It's easier if I just demonstrate. So let's say I want to draw somebody shooting a bow, right? And I don't have a reference, but it's because I've drawn enough human bodies, and I know kind of how I would pull a bow, right? An arrow. And like, I'm gonna just apply that to paper and what I see. So if I start off, right, let's say I'll start off with the chest, right? So I'll just start off with a circle for the chest. Next, I'll try to imagine the hips, right? And the shoulder. So if I'm imagining the shoulder here, right? And the chest here. And usually the weight of the body presses down. Now I'm going to have the hips counteracting it, right? And shoulders here. So now we kind of have this torso. And you see this side of the body here is going to be stabilizing this arm, right? And this arm is going to be pulling. So that's the upper arm here, and you have the lats. Lats are always going to be pulling, lats are pulling muscles. So I'm telling you, like, the thing about anatomy is that you have to understand how the muscles work. And the only way you'll know that is if, like, you kind of imagine yourself doing the pose, or if you've seen it done before, or if you've done any kind of athletics before or stuff like that. You could kind of imagine how muscles work. So I'm going to go back to this now. Now let's say that's the leg over here. Let's say he's taking a knee while he's shooting the bow and arrow, right? And I'm just imagining it, Like, I'm imagining that, so he's on the floor, right? And this body, the weight it's going down, right? So that's like the center of gravity, kind of. And now imagining this weight here is interacting with the floor, right? This here is like a kind of like it's the point where the weight hits the floor. And so if you want it to be stabilized, it's gonna have to move back a little bit. If the other foot is gonna be more forward, right? Now these are just the basic shapes, and we're gonna go back in and fix them up. And this is what I'm talking about when you draw anatomy without references. It's that you're gonna have to go back and fix it. You're not Kim Jong-ji, right? You're not gonna just come up with the pose from your head. You're gonna have to work for it. All right. So here I got the other leg, and you see how at the same time we're foreshortening because we are imagining where the weight is, right? If you can imagine where the weight of the body parts are, you can imagine where you place them in 3D space, right? So here, if we're kind of drawing the figure in perspective, right? You see how that foot here is closer, right? This knee should be a little bit further back, but So yeah, now we're gonna come back and we're gonna fix some of this, but right now we'll focus on what we have, right? What we have, we know kind of where the weight is, right? So this leg is a little bit further forward, and I feel like this here is too close. So I think the body will kind of lean forward a little bit, right? Because I feel like if you put too much weight on this side, he'll lean backwards, right? And he's using a bow, so the bow, this arm has to be coming forward like that. So let's see. We have the leg over here. That's the knee. So this quad is going to be stretched because it's going backwards. Then we have here, and then the glutes and the hips will be engaged. Then you have, it's always good to know where the belly button is and where the groin is, because then you could connect all the hip muscles and the abs and everything. Now we'll have them crunching forward a little bit, right? So that means the abs will be engaged if the person's crunching, which means the rib cage will not be up, it will be going forward because the abs are crunched, right? When the abs crunch, it pulls the rib cage down and the hips forward. But because the hips are where the weight is, right, and he's on the ground, right, he's trying to crunch his forward, the upper body forward, to kind of try to stabilize this arm, right? And he's pulling with this one. So when this arm pulls back, right, so let's have, so that's the arm, right, and that's the hand. And so this hand here, he's pulling backward with it, so it's moving the lat muscle, which is on the back, and it pulls the spine this way, right? So if he's turning, if the body's turning to stabilize this pull, then this hip will kind of be turning that way, right? So that's the hip going that way, body kind of going that way because he's pulling this arm back, right? And so there's all this force on the spine, and for him to stabilize, you know, all this movement is going on, even though he's still, right? There's all this internal mechanisms going on within the body. And so you have to visualize and think about all this when you are drawing, because if you're not, the anatomy will look off. It always will. Even if you're drawing cartoons, the thing about cartoons, what makes them so difficult is that all this stuff is going on and it's with simpler lines. And so, you know, this will help in everything when you just think about it. So then we'll have the head here, and it will be tilting forward, right? So the neck is going to be there, but we're not going to see it because the chin is going to be there. And so that's the head, right? Because when they always pull the arrow, it's always near the, like this, the cheek, right? But yeah, and then here you're gonna have those traps engaged, shoulders engaged, shoulder here stabilizing, so the chest here will also be stabilized, so the chest will be engaged, right? The chest on this side will be stretched because the lats are engaged, right? I should also, like, these muscles here will be engaged also. Here the lats will be stretched forward because they'll be getting used, and the chest is also being used, so both muscles will be under intense pressure. And I want to have the bow kind of go forward. Right. So yeah, so that's kind of a, right now I'm leaning back really hard just so I could be able to see the camera and make sure I'm drawing correctly. But I hope you understand what I was trying to display here. Now what I'm going to do is, since we have the basic shape down now and we understand what's going on, right? Now comes the second stage. So after you plan down all this stuff, right? Now you could just go in, you erase some of it, right? And then you're just gonna go back and you're gonna try to not fix, but you're gonna try to polish it up more, you know? It's kind of like sculpting. You start off with the block of marble, and then you chisel it down, right? So we're gonna always start off with the base and the chest, right? You wanna leave the head for last, unless you're very sure of what you're doing, right? So here we kind of just gonna get those basic shapes in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make it like a, let's draw like green arrow or something. I think it's a little bit lazy here, but for the sake of speed and making the video shorter, we'll kind of, you know, we'll simplify some of the anatomy. So let me just get some of the muscles here. And this anatomy is not correct. I'm just, just kind of messing around here. And in terms of the muscles, it's not correct. But in terms of the location of the body parts, that's really what matters. You could go in and you could change the muscles later. And for me, like, I kind of just draw, instead of muscles, like, you're kind of really, because nobody walks around at like 2% body fat. All right. Yeah, superheroes do. But if you can draw where the fat is, that's really what matters on the human body, Well, it's fat and a muscle. So the places that are just thicker, right? That's where you put the, like over here, that's fat deposits in the leg, on the bottom of the thigh and stuff like that, and the side, right? So you kind of have here, especially when you're drawing the female figure, right? I see a lot of artists, they draw the figure only one way, especially in comic books. It's always a very slim figure, right? And you have to learn where the fat deposits on the human body go, and they make the human body look different. Every time you draw, it should not be the same figure over and over. You should be practicing multiple types of bodies. Draw as many different body types as you can. It's the human body is it changes. It's not just one figure, and the more figures you draw, the more experienced you get and more interest. So, there's also like when the human body bends over here, like the belly has to it kind of crunches forward, and so this will affect the like clothing that you'll draw and stuff like that. And so here I'm going to be drawing a suit though, so we'll make a Green Arrow. Just for time's sake, So like the way the clothing folds, right? With the legs, it goes the direction. Kind of wraps around the limbs, right? So here we'll just have it going that way. So that'll be like pants, right? Here we'll just shade in that foot. Now we'll work on this hand, right? Now when drawing hands, you just remember the pentagon, right? So here you have a pentagon, point finger, middle finger, and then you get the pinky in the end, kind of neglect it a little bit. And then since he's pulling the arrow, those last fingers will not be too noticeable. And you got these gloves here that got like the air that could come through, right? All right. Now I would imagine when you're thinking about the anatomy where he's, pulling a bow, his arm will have to be very, very flexed, right? So the grip would be really high. And the chest is stretched. Then you increase the shadows within this area here. All right. And Green Arrow always has that thing where it's like that. He always has a funny suit, right? And we'll give him the mask. So we're kind of just basing everything based off the basic shapes. So here the mask is going to be on top of the brow ridge. You got the nose. You got the mustache, and then whoops. He kind of looks like Colonel Sanders. here you just got the arrows, right? Then we'll have the shoulder here. So this shoulder, since he's raising up his arm, right? And then the bicep will be coming through here. So the shoulder will be intense, right? It'll be under pressure. Bicep will be engaged also. And then here we got the forearm muscles. And so I'm just really throwing in rough markings, right? But the point is, you have to know which muscles are being used. So here the bicep will be stretched and the tricep is the one. So we could even just indicate the tricep is being used like that. The bulge on the back, right? And then here we'll have the thumb. Maybe he'll be even, kind of finessing it, like he'll just be showing off, he's aiming with his fingers while he's using the bow. And he'll be holding the bow with only 2 fingers or something, right? Crap. I should be lighter with this pen. This lead is way softer than what I usually use. All right. So that's kind of how I'll walk through a figure, right? How I'll plan it and stuff. Now that's Green Arrow. And now, so here we kind of went over foreshortening a little bit, and that anatomy, foreshortening, perspective, the way objects are held, right? It's all based on anatomy and it's all based on each other, right? It's like, it's hard to learn all of this out one at a time. Like, in terms of anatomy, I think you should start off learning the individual body parts. You should also understand your own body. Like, you walk around in your body all day, right? You should know how it works. I mean, I would say the number one thing that increased my knowledge of anatomy was when I learned how to lift weights and when I learned, certain sports related stuff, right? I used to box years ago, and learning how the body moves, right? Learning how the mechanics, learning the mechanics of throwing a punch. Like, let's say, for example, let me move to this side now. So let's say, you know what? I'm gonna use another pencil. Now let's talk about punches, right? Punches are a great movement to understand certain mechanics. Like when it comes to punching, you understand how power is generated, and power is generated, with speed and I forgot what the formula is in physics. Speed and mass, whatever. But it shows you that mass has to move, right, and hit something with a certain amount of speed for it to hurt it, right? So if you want to throw a lousy punch, you don't put any of your weight behind it. But if you want to throw a good punch, you put a lot of your weight behind it and you go really fast. And so let me draw a torso here, right? And then here we got a person standing, you got the shoulders, right? You got the chest. Let me just zoom in. So you got the shoulders, chest, right? And hips. And this person is gonna throw a punch like this. Boom, knuckles like that, down. Right, and this hand is still by their side. Right, just like that. Now, how does that look? That looks like a terrible punch, There's no way that would hurt anything. I don't think that wouldn't even hurt a fly. If you punch somebody like this, you probably hurt yourself. All right. So now, on this side, I'll draw a punch. That would definitely hurt. So what we do different is, you want that shoulder, right, and that arm to be propelled as much forward as possible, right? And so what happens is, the way you do that is, you want this arm to be able to move forward circularly. Now, why circularly? Because the upper body moves on a pivot point, which is the spine, right? And the spine moves in circular motions, or forward, right? Or backwards, right? Not as much backwards as it does forward. But your hips will allow you to move in a circular motion, right? You'll also, so you want the arm to move forward in the circular motion, and at the same time you want to crunch forward for a good punch, right? So you're using your abdominals, you're using your hips, so your legs, to move the hips circularly, and so it moves your upper body circularly. You're also using all your abdominal muscles to move that punch forward and inwards, and so it creates a great punch. Here we'll do a straight right hand, right? And so we'll start off with the hips, right? So the hips move forward, right? And the way the hips move forward is that the opposite of the right hand, right? What's that? The left leg moves forward, right? It could be fully forward like that, or it could be, we'll just draw the person charging in, right? Like he's trying to floor the other person with this right hand, right? Then we'll have this other leg behind him here, right? So boom. So it already shows speed. I mean, the difference is drastic, right? From this figure to this figure. Just the hips alone, you could tell. Like if you just saw a glimpse of the legs, right? Which figure is going to be moving faster? This one, for sure. So you have to think of like the base, right? So first, we're already done with the base. And even if we just add that here to the top, it will still look better than this one. And you could tell it's a stronger punch. Now we'll draw the figure, now the spine here, right? And we're imagining the spine is gonna have moved this way, kind of like turned, right? Because the hips have also turned. Like you kind of see the hips here. So you got the bone that kind of goes in like that. All right. And so you got the spine. It starts from here, and now you got this shoulder move forward, and this shoulder move back. Now when you throw a punch, you can have inbuilt defense while you're throwing it, or you could be swinging your hands wildly. So this hand, right, it could be moving in for defense, so you could have it near the chin, right? Comic books, it doesn't look that nice when you just draw the, like, pure boxing techniques, right, when you draw it clean. So let me erase the old figure real quick. Let me just draw the punch. And boom, with the knuckles, right? The knuckles just landing. You got the forearm, you got the lat stretched out, right? You got all the muscles here, like the shoulders and the chest just crunched, right? You got the bicep fully flexed, right? Because it's pulling that hand in, and every muscle in the upper body is fully flexed, except this side here is relaxed, right? And the lats on both sides kind of just contracting, right? Pulling the spine back, and at the same time the abs are pulling forward. But you see how this posture here, right, is different than that posture there. And it shows more dynamic movement. You could even make it more dynamic if you have this arm here moved fully back, right? You got that chest fully flared out. You got those ab muscles, right? They, from the side, just, and then you kind of got that arm like, bah, right? And you got that hand opened up, right? It's like in comic books when you're drawing like effects that are just, like people just moving. Like if you draw Superman punching somebody, I don't want Superman to have correct technique. I want him punching the crap out of somebody's face. I want it to be like, like just bam, going through a wall. I want to see movement. I want to see like as much damage as possible. Like here I didn't draw the leg because I don't really care. But you could even draw him landing on the heel, which is terrible, right? Just to show more, like bam. You see, and you see the space between these two here. This guy moved. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just bam right off the page. You want that? I mean, it's not really that good right now, but like if I was putting more time into it, it'd look better. You trust me. You know what I mean? Now, what do we go over here? Yeah, you got the basic, like you have to understand the weight, you have to understand how the body's moving, you have to understand about all these different structures, and trust me, it's not that difficult. You just think it's difficult because you didn't do it before, and if you didn't do it before, everything is difficult for the first time. Once you do it a few times, right, and you just think about certain movements, I mean, dude, you could replicate any movement that you think about, because you know, you kind of think about how the muscle moves, right? It's just start from the base up, right? Think about how the legs are placed on the ground. After that, you could think about how the upper body's placed on it. And if you messed up, just erase it and do it again. I see too many tutorials online. It's just like, learn how to draw every single back muscle, and then we're gonna move on to the shoulder. Learn how to shoulder, like, dude, it's just muscles. It's overcomplicated. It's really just the bone structures and the way the shapes are moving. And I understand, like I talk about how some muscles are flexing and stuff, but you'll do that while you're understanding the weight placement, right? So here we understand all the weight is moving forward. He's catching himself while he's falling onto the ground onto his heel. And also the weight is gonna be bashing into whatever, like if you draw a person here, boom, right? This is mouth guard, right? Like, yeah, person got knocked out, right? Now, he didn't land yet, which means all the power went into this guy's face, right? Now, you could even show that he didn't land by doing this trick, right? So if you're drawing a person moving, and let's say you got shadows here, right? You could show that there's a shadow. Well, not here. Let's say if he landed, there would be shadow right behind it, right? You could just do this. You know what I'm saying? Boom, and then maybe this guy is just. Now to show that he got hit, maybe you could have this arm over here, right? And then maybe a wobbled leg, right? The leg got folded, right? But yeah, I'm not gonna overcomplicate it. But I hope this, like, you know, lesson was all right, you know. And all it's trying to teach here is just you got to be conscious of how the weight is moving through the human body. You know, the human body, when it moves, it's using a certain amount of power. You know, it's the human body is all about the force it's exerting on stuff when it's moving. Like, even somebody asked, like when I did the Instagram story, somebody asked about how do hands grip objects. I'll do a video on that. But I think I did a video on that before. But it's all about how much pressure the hand is putting on an object, right? Like if I'm drawing, just move over here. Remember how I said made it look like he's, like, you know, playing around with the bow, and he's holding the arrow really hard, right? And that's why the whole entire arm here, the forearm, is just intense, right? Like if I were to render it in, I'll make sure that the muscles are popping up, right? Increase the highlights on these parts over here, right? So these parts will be highlighted, right? You know, make sure that the tendons on the knuckles, you know, these tendons here are highlighted, and you'll have shadows within the connections more, like, you know, wherever, you know, muscles are being used and stuff. No, you know, and maybe because he's concentrating, he'll have one eye like with wrinkles on it more than the other one. But yeah, I hope you guys learned from this video, and you know, and you know, you got something out of it. Because it's very difficult to make lessons on YouTube, because there's so many different types of lessons and so many different channels, so many artists just sharing their opinion on here. And I feel like a lot of the tutorials are just, you know, not plagiarized, it's not a good word, but it's just so unoriginal. It's like, I remember when I used to want to learn stuff off YouTube, and I'll just like listen to the advice and stuff, and even though I was like still a newbie when I was learning on YouTube, I still feel it was stuff that was like, if you search up one topic, the first 5 videos you'll see will all teach the thing the same in the same approach. It's just, you know, it's hard to find the right videos without wasting your time. Now, I hope my videos are not a waste of time, but you know, and I hope you learn something, because I feel like I don't see much videos talking about how you have to study the motion and you have to study the weight and you have to study, you know, how the muscles move, right? I mean, a lot of people just do gesture drawing after gesture drawing, and I feel like that just teaches you gestures and it teaches you how the weight is placed. That's a good thing, and I was talking about that, but I don't think anybody ever talks about how movements and power are generated within a move, right? Like I never see that being talked about, and if it is, show me a video. I'd like to actually watch it. I'd probably learn something. But yeah, every video I just see is like somebody saying, let's just do gesture drawings and let's just do anatomical studies and all that stuff. And I think it's not that it's a waste of time, but like I want to learn something that I didn't learn before, and I don't really see that much on YouTube. And since I am self-taught, I feel like I have some of these approaches that aren't like I've never seen a video on YouTube about it. So I think, you know, this video is a good start to just recognize certain things about weight and mass and force. And yeah, I'm just talking too much, but yeah, I hope you guys liked this video, and leave any comments or tips in the, you know, in the comments below. And thanks for watching. Laters.